The music is hitting hard today because Real Madrid has their first win in the Xabi Alonso era. Welcome to The Real Deal, a Real Madrid podcast with me, Jarod Hector, joined by Loconte. That was awesome. A 3-1 win, down a man early the first couple of minutes of the match. So let's just start there, Loconte. Just like your quick overall thoughts, about this match.
So you know how we prepare for this podcast, right? Going live, and it's like there are notes being written, and it's like 6 minutes into the game, a red card, and you go like, okay, so all of these questions are out of the window now. So yeah, thank you, Asencio.
Yes, thank you, Asencio. We had these notes all prepared and ready that we were going to go through based on some quotes that Xabi had earlier. And listen, but that's the beauty of live sports, right? Anything can happen at any time, and this is why we are where we are. But a 3-1 win for Real Madrid in their second group stage match of the Club World Cup, nonetheless. Thank you for all of you, by the way, who joined us on live. Please like the video, subscribe, share. You know the deal. Do all those things. All right, let's get into it. First, Loconte, after the first match, I mean, you would have thought, Loconte, that it was the end of the world. I mean, Real Madrid fans were going crazy. Sell Vinny, he's a bum. Get him out of here. I mean, it was nuts. I was like, guys. Yes. And to be fair, he has not played well for the last 6 months. He's been out of form. That we can be totally honest and fair about that. That is all well and good. But have you all not forgot? We don't win these last 2 Champions Leagues without Vinicius Jr. Like, that's just a fact. Okay, so all of a sudden, he has a poor 6 months and you're ready to ship him out and do what? And who are you going to get to fill that spot? Who's as good as him right now? And don't tell me about Rodrigo. We already discussed that on our last episode.
Yeah, we're not getting into that. The shiny new toy syndrome, right?
Exactly. So after the match, or before the match, Xabi Alonso had his sort of, pre-match press conference the day before, talking about different players, and he was asked about Vinny specifically, and he said, Vinny's doing well. We just need to help him be more decisive. He's a very different player, very unpredictable, and when he has fun, he helps the team a lot. And I thought, Loconte, those words were extremely important. When he has fun, he helps us a lot. The one thing I can say, obviously, his form has been poor the last 6 months. 6 months. He has not looked like a happy individual at all, number one. Number two, these players, and I've said this a million times, they are not machines. They are not robots. I have no idea about this. Maybe something's going on in Vinny's personal life that is affecting him on the field of play. But he is not playing with that big smile and that big joy and the dancing. He just doesn't. It's not there. And so I think that is important because happy, fun Vinny, that's the best version of Vinny. And that's when we're like basically the best team in the world and unstoppable.
Yeah, exactly that, right? I mean, considering all the mental toughness that he has to go through, needing to hold a press conference before to cry about the racism that he's facing in Spain, like whether people like it or not, it's an actual real thing. And with him, it's just been taken to another level. It's always existed in Spain, in Spanish football. I still remember to this day, Dani Alves getting thrown a banana on the field.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But with Vinny, everything just escalated before. There is nothing normal with racism, but with Vinny, it's just been taken those 10 steps ahead of, like, with the majority. I don't want to take anything away from any victim that's being pressed. I don't want to take anything with that because it's such a sensitive topic. Spanish media are the ones that have run with this and have made this 10 times fold. That could be also one thing when you said that he might be going through some mental things. It's also the physical load. We have been asking the guy to do way too much for way too long. And there's a certain point in which you hit and you go like, well, my body just can't take this anymore, right? Even when we won the Champions League. Now, I don't know how we're counting Club World Cup. Is this a new season? Or
I think it's an extension of this current season. So we're still in this current season.
Yeah, okay. So a season ago when we won the Champions League, he suffered injuries, right? When Jude had to carry for quite a while until Vinny came back. in January, and then from there we saw like a different beast. But he was already suffering physical issues, and we were going to be on a position like this, right? Last season, it seemed that this season more so, it seemed that Ancelotti wanted to mitigate his load a little bit by using more of Mbappe, Rodrigo, Bellingham. But ultimately, it boils down to a player that might be mentally fatigued from this. I expect perfection at all times because I have personality, I have color on my skin, if that makes sense. And also, my coach has asked me to carry the ball 3 times as much as the second winger over the past 3 years. This is really a combination of everything of that norm. But for today, though, Vini showed to us exactly what we spoke on the last episode. We said he wasn't good, but he was understanding the assignments. And today, we got a player that's a lot more decisive. We got a player that had a pause to his game. He was scanning a lot more. And I even tweeted that he's such a tactical weapon. Like, I don't know if you remember when Ancelotti used him as number 9 against Manchester City, right? He was holding up. He was getting his teammates involved, got an assist for Rodrigo, which was very important, especially after running in behind. As we know, Rodrigo is not the most athletic guy, so he had to do a lot there. So he's such a tactical weapon, and Alonso has realized that because so far on those first 2 games, he's kind of left alone up there to run in behind because Gonzalo Garcia is being asked to come back a lot,
hold up, play
up a lot. So he's a lot alone up there, and he has to hold the ball for longer than maybe you want him to, or he has to make quicker decisions than any other player maybe, because he's very much isolated. But today he showed to you glimpses of what he's going to become. I'm not saying that he was a 10 out of 10. This was Vini's Champions League final against Dortmund performance. But this was a Vini that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, he was much better today. I thought he was much more decisive, to your point. He had clear ideas about what Xavi wanted from him, and you saw him trying to do that. And Vini, to your point, is a tactical weapon. He has so much gravity, right? When he is out on the pitch, defenders have to be concerned about him, whether he's in form or not in form, right? You can't just be like, whatever, leave that guy alone. No, he's going to attract 2 or 3 dudes because he's Vinicius Jr. And now when he knows that, he's able to pause up, right? Do the quick one touch, get off the ball, run in behind, as you're talking about, do different things to cause the defense to get into stress. So yeah, we definitely saw a better Vini, and I think again it's going to take time to see more of that. We started the match talking about Asencio, and we have to sort of continue there, right?
Yeah.
So this is now the second match in a row that Asencio has made a not bright play. Now you can argue
critical error.
You can argue whether or not it deserved a straight red. I think because he was the last man back, that's why they gave it to him. But in terms of like softness, like, I mean, it wasn't like he was, the guy, the striker on Pachuca felt the tug of the jersey, and anybody, once you feel the tug of the jersey, you're the only person down, you're going to fall on the ground, and the ref's going to call it every single time, right?
Exactly.
So he, as Asencio, has to be smarter in that position, because where he was positioned, Loconte, he didn't even need to tug him down. You were on the right side of him where the ball was. You could have just stood there. You don't have to do anything. But, and this is, I don't want to say that Asencio rested on his laurels. I don't think that's the case. What I think the situation is that because we had no choice and had to play him, and he's shown us good things, but now because he's getting all these minutes, we are seeing more of his warts and more of the issues that he has to improve on, right? And that is an area, decision-making in those moments, where he just needs to be better. Because even prior to the red card, that ball over the top to their striker was getting us every time because he was just a step out of position every single time. And that's an area where he needs to be better at.
Yeah, and comparing this season to last season was a lot more individual, right? So his personality was shining through more throughout those. This season, now with Alonso, he has to be a lot more collective. He needs to be more in line, and that's where deficiencies are starting to show. You already said 2 critical errors, 2 games back-to-back. 2 experienced strikers. I have all the respect in the world for Salomon Rondo. He's been a player that's been around for like 14, 15 years now.
A long time. Yeah, he's 35, 36, whatever.
He's old. We also have to remember that. And you're young, and your partner in defense is also young.
Correct.
And it's like You don't have to do that. Let it be. Try to recover, maybe challenge him a little bit to make it uncomfortable. Just add mental issues, not mental issues, sorry, just add mental stress
Right.
to Rondon, just so, because you can tell from the action, right? Rondon was immediately looking for that challenge and immediately to go down. The moment when he doesn't get that challenge, the moment when he doesn't get the hands here, is the moment when all of his plan falls apart. You're probably leading to a bad decision making from him. So that's something that Asencio needs to learn a lot. This is not the first mistake that he makes. There's been quite a few of them. Will I say that there is talent on Asencio? Yes.
Of course.
There is personality, there is drive, but that's coming at a cost. And now we have to measure the cost, right? Like, is all of this courage of his even worth it for the team on collective level? That's something to think about.
Yes, it's something he's going to have to dial in. And you mentioned he's young and Solomon's old, but that's where he has the advantage in terms of physicality, right? You're faster than him. You already beat him back to the spot once. So just use your youth as you can beat him in a straight line race. And again, to my point, he didn't have to touch him. You were already on the correct side where the ball was. All you had to do was stand there. And to your point, Loconte, he probably would have messed up and made the wrong decision, Solomon, right? Like either kicking off the wrong foot, like taking a dive, whatever, because his plan was this young kid is going to do something stupid. I want to take advantage. And that's what Asencio did. And obviously what I think we'll see over time is ultimately the starting pairing is not going to be Asencio and Huijsen. It's going to be Asencio and Rudiger, right? Because Rudiger, with that experience, would not make that mistake, right? One, he wouldn't get caught out in that position to start with, number one. Two, when he's there, he's not making that type of mistake. But look, it happens. Young players have to get this coached out of them and like worked out of their games. And he's going to feel bad about this, no doubt. The team won and they bailed him out in that way. But he will feel like, oh, this was me. I did some bad things in this match.
I do wonder if Rudiger getting minutes today was because of that red card, right? I don't think it was even probably planned beforehand for him to even get the minutes.
Because they even said they wanted to be slow coming off the surgery and coming back into it. And what you're seeing from Xabi Alonso is, and what we all as a fan base clamored for from Carlo was, when you see things not working, you have to do something different and make a change. Xabi is now seeing 2 games in a row where Asencio is doing something he doesn't like, and he's like, all right, you can't do this, right? Yeah. You're not learning. You're not learning here, okay? So I cannot play you here, right? And so these are the things I think we're going to see big time here in a change from Xabi versus a Carlo for sure.
Yeah, and what we saw from last game, to your point, right? 2 worst players on the pitch that night, Lucas Vazquez and Rodrigo, 0 minutes today. Correct. It's like, well, if you want to play, you have to improve. I have already said that I'm going to use the whole squad. Everybody's going to get their chances equally. I would assume that now to this point is, I think that Fran Garcia is doing just enough to keep his space. But I don't think he's doing we do need to enter the transfer market for a left back, because we do need to enter it. At least from the first 2 games showing, we do need to enter it.
Yeah, so let's talk about Fran. I thought Fran's effort and energy level, particularly going forward, was very good, which it always is, because that's where Fran, I think, excels. He was a little bit better in duels today than he was in the first match against Al Hilal. However, in 1v1, he was getting turned inside out. And listen, we know that's an area he's going to struggle in. 1v1, he's going to get cooked the majority of the time because he just doesn't have the hip flexibility and the ability to stay with really good wingers or people coming. And, look, Pachuca's a good team, but let's not be mistaken. This isn't a top Prem League team or Lamine Yamal coming. You know what I mean? It's not that, okay? But he still struggles with people of a certain caliber.
It's a bit of IQ thing, I'm going to be honest, right? Because there were times, especially in the second half, when he could have avoided being turned. We're with 10 players, essentially, for 91 minutes of this game? Well, actually, no, it's 96 minutes because we got 5 minutes extra on the first half. So it's hard, right? Apologies. It's very hard. It's hard to manage those situations, because every time he has to look where his teammates are and how much he can commit.
Correct.
But I say one thing, I've always said this is an issue. How about fouling before, like you're at the halfway line? It's not very consequential. Foul the player, try to smartly take him down and reset their attack, reset your team shape, and go from there. But he wasn't doing it. He was just going backwards. And of course, when you're giving an attacker that much advantage, it doesn't matter whether it's Lamine Yamal or Malcolm last game or today. I forgot his name, to be honest, the winger. It doesn't matter, because he has so much space and time where he can scan everything. He's going to beat you. If one thing I want to give credit to Mendy is the fact that Mendy is very good at blocking those areas for attacker center. Fran is not good at that. He is very good when it comes to defending, where he has to use, as you said, his energy, right? When he has to up his intensity and coming at you, he can be good defensively. He can be burned, but good, because he has like good pace on him, good recovery. Even if he gets beat, he can still get there. But like today, when you have to be a little bit more tactical, you have to play on the back heel, basically, where you're consistently turning back. That's not his strength. And that did show.
And he, to your point, all he did was concede ground every time. And when you are, that's the best place to position if you are the offensive player. Oh, this guy's going to keep ceding space to me. You're cooked, right? You are at my mercy because I have all this space in front of me. It's in any sport, what you want to do with elite players that in a ball possession sport is take away their time and space. That's when they're ineffective. But when they have all day to kick around and sit down and have coffee and whatever, they're going to cook you, right? But only players who are tactical enough to understand what's my positioning, how can I recover, can do that, right? You're better left backs. And I do think you're better fullbacks. The Alvaro Carreras thing, I think, will happen. To your point, I don't think it's a situation where he's done anything to say, hey, we don't have to worry about the transfer market. Madrid will for sure do something in the transfer market. They're just going to wait until the Club World Cup's over. That's my opinion on that.
It feels like they gave it a chance to this, but with the way how Alonso is using Fran, a bit deeper, not really to his strengths, right? You saw Fran at his strength when he was running in behind, going on the space, but that's not a consistent thing, because he wants Vini to do that.
Correct.
So normally you want a deeper left back.
Correct.
Normally, you want a left back that's more comfortable on the ball, can come on the inside, and can also defend the wide spaces.
Correct.
That's exactly Alvaro Carreras.
Right. That's Carreras in a nutshell. That's exactly.
So it seems that this is a trial where he's going like, okay, look, I know that Fran is not very good at this right now, but he's the best choice that I have. But now I actually will have a left back, presumably that they're already speaking internally, going like, okay, this guy has a release clause. He's not a very high wage. So I think that he's going to be worth to pull the trigger. So Alonso is probably just planning ahead of time, planning and just going by, okay, Fran, you're good enough probably for this World Cup, but I don't know if I really want to go into an 80-game season again with you on this role. And I don't think I trust David Alaba's knees for the most part to keep up, because Alaba on the paper would have been a good choice for this role, right?
But coming off those injuries,
but it's not the same Alaba anymore. It's a post-ACL Alaba who's just struggling, right? It's not the same guy. And we keep speaking, Rodrigo is out, physicality, that does matter, and even more for the players on the back, right?
Yes.
Because they have to recover so much, and the high line that Alonso is keeping, that adds an even extra load. So, I don't think that Alonso is just going by, Alaba comes back. I don't think so.
No. Carreras is the move, and they'll figure out a way to, as the backup, be some combination of Garcia, because I think he will remain on the squad as a squad player, and whomever else they can kind of look. I think with this win today, we're going to see maybe potentially some of the other Castilla kids, give them some run at that spot at left back to see what they can do, because maybe one of them, not as a starter over Carreras, but can be potentially, hey, they're better than Fran. One of them might be better than Fran. Okay, well, now, Fran, this is who you're competing with for backup minutes, right? And we'll see what happens there. I want to move to Arda Guler, and I want to start here because, again, in that same pre-match press conference yesterday, Arda was one of the players that was made available, and he had some really interesting things to say. So the reporter asked him, what's the difference between playing for Madrid and playing for his national team in Turkey? He said, there I play all the matches, so I have more confidence. I feel good with Xabi Alonso because he sees me as a midfielder, which is good for me. He likes to control tempo and wants more short passes. I feel more important because Xabi Alonso talks to me all the time. And Xabi said, Arda needs to touch the ball a lot. That's how he needs to play. He needs to be very close to the action. And lo and behold, guess who started today and who was in the center of the park? And then, going deep to recover, sometimes next to Tchouaméni before Asencio got taken off. And Tchouaméni had to get put back in center back. Poor Tchouaméni. Every time that guy's getting a run and started doing his thing, oh, sorry, something happened, man. You got to go back to center back because we got nobody. Yeah. But anyway.
I feel bad for Tchouaméni because he even said that he doesn't prefer the center back role, but if he has to do it, he'll do it.
Of course, because he's a team guy and he'll do what they ask. But every time he gets the momentum going, something happens and he's got to shuffle back to center back until we get healthy bodies back in the squad and he won't have to do that anymore. But anyway, I thought Loconte, Arda, wow, what a difference when he is injected on the pitch. And again, I don't want to go crazy. This is Pachuca, right? This is not PSG. This is not, okay? But still, this is ultimately who we want as our game controller. That clearly is the direction we're going. So he has to start getting his run doing that. I thought he was phenomenal today. Loconte, just he has that profile that every Madrid fan has been screaming about. Everybody wants Stiller and this person and that person, but Arda already does all that, right? He knows exactly where to be. He's younger, which means he can grow into potentially something even better, right? He's quick with his decisions. He can hold up play for that pause up for that 1 second. He knows exactly where to be at all times to be a release valve and then to also say, okay, guys, let's build up and link up and move the play forward.
Exactly, right? Like Arda, to my surprise, for now, both games, right? He came on the second half of last game. We started dominating just like that. Mm-hmm. Today, he's on there. It's just the fact that he's such a good tactical tool to the point where he barely makes mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. Which wasn't really the case last season when it was a little bit disorganized. This season, now, where the players, you can tell, know what to do, where to look at, he's not misplacing passes. He's not rushing any play. He's not trying to be like, okay, I have to make something happen here or else I'm sitting on a bench. No, he's like, okay, I can calculate my moves. I'm already training with this coach. I know what this coach wants, and I'm going to try to execute that. And the goal doesn't change anything on his performance. The goal is just him learning more and more about adjusting, because that's every single goal that we have scored on this Club World Cup so far has been an Alonso goal. It hasn't been like a lucky one, deflection, a long shot. It's been an exact Alonso goal.
Yep.
I want those three boxes in the middle to open up the gap for the players out wide. Those players out wide then have to make the right call. This is where Alonso's strengths come, unlike the majority of other coaches. He gives the players a little bit more freedom. And that freedom plays to the part when you have players like Vinicius, Arda on this example, right, who can pick that pass. And to his credit, Arda is very good at waiting for that. Waiting for the run to be triggered. He's so good at that. Yeah. He waits for it. He's not just rushing because, hey, we have to move the ball wide. No.
Yeah.
He's waiting for the move to be triggered and then releasing the ball. And that's when you go like, that's what I want to see.
He
I know
sees
that
it.
It can be Al Hilal and Pachuca, but that's not really taken away whether it is Al Hilal or Barcelona, right?
Correct.
Because it's the thought process behind it. And when you're organized as a team, that adds such value.
Yes.
And really a value that I was scared that we might lose once Modric leaves post this, right? But
it's Arda. It's Arda.
It's Arda. He's going there.
He is. And let's be clear, folks. Arda will have struggles this season. There are going to be moments where you're going to be like, oh my God. But this is important now that he's getting these minutes now. So to Loconte's point, the habits are starting to get built up and the repetitions there. And now he's knowing and he's getting comfortable with all the players on the pitch knowing this. So that they're in sync. So he knows, I know what Vinny's going to do right now. So he's already know that it's coming. Ball's already released. Boom, here we go. Now we're cooking, right? I loved it. I thought He made great interventions defensively, I thought, in that first half, running back to stop a scoring chance for Pachuca, which is really great. Right, that was one issue of his, like his physicality. Can he do it? He showed a little bit there. I was really impressed with that. Again, I'm going to make a cross-sport analogy. Arda, Xabi said that he has to be where the action is, right? So in essence, the ball with him at his feet at all times. He's like Chris Paul in that way, right? NBA point guard. Chris Paul has to have the ball in his hands at all times, right? He's literally like, gimme, it's my ball. Because when he has it, he is in control, right? He is orchestrating, pulling the strings. I know who's going where. I know everything that's going to happen. And Arda is like that in that way, that when he has the ball,
yes,
I make it happen because I know where everything's happening. Because he can read the game, right? It's one of the skills he has, that he is a preternatural reader of the game, right? Some people, their athleticism and their skill talent, they can overwhelm because they're so good at that. And they use that to overwhelm people. With Arda, it's up here. Yes, and it's that magical left foot as well. Don't get it wrong. That's incredible. Although he did score the goal with his weak foot. With his right. But I think Arda's great, and I was so happy to see him get this run. And I think this is, again, a great building block for him. And he even said it. He makes me feel important because he talks to me every day. Guys, again, these are not robots. When your coach is talking to you all the time and instilling confidence in you, that makes you feel great. I'm going to give you guys another example. So in the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are in the NBA Finals right now, Chet Holmgren's rookie year, he broke his foot and was out before the season even started. But that entire season that he was out and rehabbing, the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Mark Daigneault, had lunch with him just about every single day. Just the two of them, one-on-one, talking and saying, here's where you're going to be good. That's we're going to use you. Is there no surprise that last year he was able to hit the ground running? Why? Because his coach gave him all that confidence and wind in his sails. Look, as much as we love Carlo was not doing that for Arda. There was no wind in his sails, right? Xabi's giving him all the wind in his sails, and you can see it. He's walking around with his chest out a little bit. When he's talking to his teammates on the field, we need that. That's how our guys get good.
Exactly. All right. Like, you have the information and you have the courage, and now you have the coach's confidence. So for that reason, it's just working out. So speaking on that, there's a player that just joined the team that looks like he was forever there, Dean Huijsen.
Oh my God. He was so good today.
I'm like, Jesus, where you were, bro? Okay, I know I was one of the guys that drew parallels between Asencio and Ramos, right? I was one of the guys. I was one of the culprits. I was maybe desperate because Asencio was taking risks.
Right.
But now I'm watching Dean and I'm like, we actually haven't really had this since Ramos. And we haven't even had the structure since that time, right? Because Ancelotti just liked to give the team a little bit more freedom on a pitch to do what they want. I'm not saying that it didn't work in terms of results, but it wasn't always the prettiest. While with Alonso, it's not still the prettiest, right? But you can tell that players are knowing what to do. For example, Dean, does he take sometimes some rash calls? Yes. He jumps a little bit too early sometimes. Like the offside on Asencio's red card, he could have been quicker at moving. He wasn't. But those are the growing pains. Correct. I'm completely fine with it for as long as you're seeing that guy didn't repeat that. As we said before, 95 minutes more of football, you didn't see Dean repeat that for 1 second, right? And he had some clutch moments clearing the ball on the defensive end.
Sure did.
One thing that I want to say, though, in Dean, this is with Courtois. In the first half, when we were getting pressed, especially the moment when we went to 10 men, Dean had the courage to move to the sides, tell Fran, move up, but Thibaut was booting the ball up. And I'm like, actually, you need to look, because you have a center back there that's literally
like a midfielder
to take the ball out. And he's not doing it. And I know why he's not doing it, because he said that on the presser of the last game. He went like, well, guys, we have had 4 years of completely different football, right? And with Ancelotti, he's been told, boot it. And he just boots it, because it's his natural instinct. Goes back to your points from previous podcasts, right? When you said that they will revert back to what they're most comfortable of. And that's what you saw. the best goalkeeper in the world was reverting to what he's comfortable at doing.
Yep.
And he was putting the ball instead of going to that guy. And I know that there was a sequence where Alonso is like, like this. He didn't like it, but he understands. He understands that, okay, I'm going to have to take this out of this guy. As the game progressed, Thibaut became more and more comfortable, right? He was probably told, don't do it again unless you really have to. Scam first, which he never really had to do with Ancelotti. So when he had the opportunity, he was playing the ball to the players. He wasn't booting it as often, but back to reversals.
And it will, as we know, for Xavi's build-up, the goalkeeper with the ball at his feet is critical, right? So that's a habit that Thibaut is going to have to build back into his game that, again, was gone for the last 4 years because that's not what Ancelotti wants. But when you see Dean on the ball, my God, Loconte, he looks like a midfielder. I mean, he's just slaloming and through. I'm like, yeah, man. When he has the ball, I am not stressed at all. I'm like, all right, cool. You go do your thing, my guy. I'm not worried, right? Like, I think it's wonderful. And again, to your point, it's not since Ramos, right? Have we had center back that's doing that kind of thing? And so I think it's wonderful because now everyone's always worried. What do we do? We have nobody who can control it. I'm like, guys, I just talked about Arda. I'm not talking about Dean. All right, like, wait till when we sign Carreras. He can also do that. Oh, hello. Did you notice Trent Alexander-Arnold today? Who basically was tucked in the entire game, right? Like, he's essentially a midfielder, right? Like,
that sequence on the second half, I don't know if you remember when we had Ceballos, Modric, Huijsen, and
oh my God,
and Trent.
I have that in my second half. Let's wait to talk about that because it's so good. It is so good. I was like, oh my God, this is fucking brilliant. Anyway, but to go back to Dean, look, I tweeted this out. He's already a very good player. He's 19 or 20.
He's 20.
He, in my opinion, Loconte, he's going to be elite. And we're talking about like best center back in the world type of discussion. Like that is what I see
he's
for
elite
him.
Already. To your point, I think he's elite.
Yeah,
already.
But I think like ultimately, Van Dijk's been the best center back in the world for the last, I don't know, decade or whatever. I think that's Dean's ceiling for me. Like best center back in the world. Yeah, I think
that's the ceiling. Yes. The Van Dijk, basically, of undisputed the best. You all are fighting for the second. Yes, that's kind of like how it is.
That's what I see. Another player I want to talk about, Loconte, is Gonzalo Garcia. So it isn't so much that he's perfect or the best at any. It isn't about that. What it is that he has striker instincts and knows how to do the things that strikers are supposed to do, which is I can drop deep, hold up play, right? And then pass the ball off to whom I need to, right? Like the best strikers in the world do. And then when I get in the box, I can lay the ball off for that beautiful goal for Arda from that pass from Trent. Like, I think just in these games, these two matches alone, to me, Loconte, he has done enough to earn himself the opportunity to get minutes next season on the big squad. Now, he isn't the profile we want. He isn't the Budimir, right? We don't, because he's not tall enough to head.
He's not the crossing guy,
right? He's the crossing guy, but he has those, in a way, instincts that Mbappe doesn't have, right? Like he just has them, right? And so again, calm down, people. I'm not saying he's better than Mbappe. What I'm saying is he has those natural instincts to do those kinds of things, and sometimes in a match, those are needed. So I think he's done enough to earn himself an opportunity to get playing time next season.
The simplicity of his game, right? You know what I like the most? I don't know if, to be honest here, gotta give credit to Raul, because Raul used to be a master of some of the things that Gonzalo was doing. That body movement, that trap that he sends for the defenders is just like, oopsie, there you go. It's out. Your defensive shape, gone. You know, the flick for the goal.
Yes.
It's just a simple flick, right? But it's just enough. And he kept, we talked about Vini. Vini doesn't get in behind us often if Gonzalo Garcia is not making those moves.
Correct.
Because he's dragging the defensive line. He's getting those center backs to chase him. If he's not involved himself, he's already created the involvement of the ball for the players on the ball to actually know what they're doing.
Yep.
So I'm intrigued to actually even see if Alonso goes with like Vini, Mbappe, and Gonzalo Garcia. Look, reality is that football is not very linear, right? You can shapeshift a lot. Realistically speaking, today we played without a right wing, normally, because even when we were 11 players, which was very little,
which was like 5 minutes,
way inside.
Yes, Arda was,
there was no left wing, there was no right wing at all. Trent was still inverting, because I thought that, okay, this might be the time when Alonso is going to try to have Trent more on traditional fullback role. This was my expectation getting out when I saw the starting 11, but no. Trent is inverting. He's still doing those rotations with the midfielders. Arda is there. They're rotating. They're passing the ball. They're trying to clog those spaces, and they're trying to play very narrow, very slow, because they want to utilize, they want to create the gaps for that left wing to attack. So an attacking trio of Gonzalo, Mbappe, and Vini is on the cards. Maybe that way you drop Jude a little bit. I'm saying on his positioning, because Jude sometimes was staying with Gonzalo Garcia. Maybe on that instance, Jude drops deeper. And Mbappe stays exactly there, with Vini providing us the main outlet, Mbappe joining in. And you know what's scary? Once the ball goes to Vini, Mbappe has the pace to get there in time.
Exactly. No, look, what you're talking about, Loconte, is what we have been saying is going to happen with Xabi Alonso as the manager. Tactical versatility with these different people that we have. So, yes, we have clear ideas, and Xabi has clear football principles he believes in. However, because of all of this talent, it's going to be such versatility. You mentioned we might do Gonzalo, Vini, and Mbappe up front. Hell, in another match, we might do Franco, Mbappe, and Vini up front. In another match, God help us if we get a Budimir type or someone who can head crosses. We'll do something completely different, right? This is what we want out of this team. It is the versatility that the talent levels suggest that we should have, because we have so many different types of players and they have all kinds of special and unique abilities, right? Instead of just Vinny 1-on-4, you got to cook everybody because we have nothing else to do, which is why he's burnt out, bro. Right? You know.
Vinny was dribbling, by the way. Today you can see his numbers. It's not that Alonso is taking his dribbling away, but he's just not making, okay, we have to dribble here to create the chance. We need that separation to come off a dribble. That's not happening. Dribbling is becoming more of like, we can return the ball here. We can maybe enter better spaces if he dribbles and cooks that fullback, but I'm not going to fully rely on it, because I do need to. Maybe from time to time you're going to need to, don't get me wrong, because there are games that are going to require for that isolation and Vini isovol, as I like to call it. But for the most part, you can see that there are patterns. And do you know what's the thing with the patterns that we're seeing? They're hardly impossible to counter on a tactical standpoint, because this team is coming at you from every angle. So let's say that you're going to block the wide areas for Vini not to enter. As we saw today, Pachuca actually adapted to it. Then Vini just started floating around. He was just coming on the inside. He's adapting to the circumstances. It's not that you're playing one way only, that gets countered, it's done. Easily. No. You're not getting that. You're getting an adaptable team, a team that is capable of doing anything and everything that the coach is asking them to. And that will solve. Genuinely, I even tweeted at the whole time point. I went like, I haven't felt for 1 second that this is a 10-man team. But it didn't feel like it.
No. The ability to be able to do what we did with 10 men, I thought was impressive. Again, even though it is Pachuca, I understand that, but it's still a professional football team, right? Who were up a man, right? And we were able to. And that first goal,
we played them on a final, right? On December. Now they're calling it the Intercontinental final because they wanted this to be the Club World Cup.
Right.
So they were not there for no reason at all.
Exactly. They are a good squad in the league they play in. And on that goal we scored, right? This is where we saw the good of Fran, right? That overlapping run, right? He plays that ball into Jude, and Jude with his weak foot, right? Hard low, right? To the outside of the goalie. I was like, this team still, even when all else is lost or whatever, we're still arguably, I'd say it's arguably the best counterattacking team in world football. When all our, and by the way, there was no Mbappe today, right? And wasn't our potentially best player wasn't even there. We're so good at that when we're coming at you in those unsettled situations because the quality is just so high, right? And that's ultimately because Pachuca had their chances. They just don't have enough quality in the final third, right? And you saw it. They were unable to capitalize on chances. Whereas I think we had at one point in the match, we only had 3 shots on goal and 3 goals, right? And they had like 9, and at that point, none. We were clinical in finishing our chances, right? And they were not. But that's what you expect from a club like this. And it was impressive to watch.
Yeah, but respectfully, like we have Thibaut. It felt very normal. I don't know. Maybe it's because that Ancelotti thing where I'm wired of we're going to concede a lot of shots on the target anyways.
Right.
So it's like, for me, that feels very normal.
Yeah.
Like game against Al Hilal didn't feel normal when they have 2 shots on target and one of them is a penalty that gets converted. That doesn't feel normal.
Right.
Conceding 9 shots on target feels relatively normal because we had a goalkeeper that broke the saves record on a Champions League final. So thank God that we have him, giving credit to him there, right?
For sure.
That's become the norm for us, right? So when we're judging performances, we're looking at other things rather than how much is our goalkeeper bailing us out.
No doubt. All right, move to the second half. So we're up 2-0 at the end of one. And again, that we talked about the goal, the excellent pass from Trent into Gonzalo Garcia, who, again, just a simple flick. And again, Arda knowing where, right? And a player who just, a younger player typically might have just been in the wrong spot. So Arda knew exactly where to be. He's going to lay off because that's his natural instinct. His back is the goal. It's like a hold-up play. I'm just going to go right here. Arda into his weaker right foot, right? Scores. Like, it was beautiful. All right. Second half, let's talk about that awesome play. So, Xabi took off Brahim for Gonzalo Garcia. My thought was he probably wanted a little bit more control, which is probably why he did that. And then he took off Jude and I forget who, and put in Modric and Ceballos for the ultimate control. But there was that play where Pachuca started pressing, and it was Trent, Ceballos, Modric, right? And the 3 of them were like a Rondo, right? Just working. And I was like, this is what we've been missing. Loconte, this is what I've been trying to
move. Right.
And it's all it was like, again, if I took out the game, if I took away the idea of you're playing a game, that would just look like what? A Rondo session, right? Because that's all they were doing. Pass, move. But just to get the ball, to get space. And then once the shape was out of position for Pachuca, okay, now we can turn and go up. It was beautiful to watch. I loved it.
I don't think we have seen an action like that since we had Kroos and Modric basically at their not youth, but younger selves. We haven't seen a play and the team shifting a block just like that. So that was, okay, they're getting pressed, no problem. Didn't feel, when Trent was getting the ball, just zero pressure. You just know that that was throughout the game, but especially on that action, you just feel that this guy just knows how to get the right play at all times. No fear in there. You know what I liked about that action? That Dean was stepping up.
Yes.
Ceballos was there. Dean was just there. Always as an option. Yes, they were disguising it to play between the 3 of them. But you need the supporting cast. And this guy was just jumping in immediately. And now, oh, wait, I have to worry about this guy because if this guy gets the ball, he's going to carry it forward and look at the spaces there. So it's like, okay, I have to block him. So these guys are getting the time now.
Yeah.
Just enough time to not fall prey of any press. And they can shift the body so well to the point where, okay, this ball is just not lost. They can get it forward, and that's what they did.
Yes. And this was the biggest thing that the fan base had been so upset about once Kroos retired, right? We were like, we have 0 press resistant people on our team. And like, how are we going to be able to get ourselves out of trouble and be able to build up? Trent, right? I mean, Ceballos has that kind of profile. When he was playing well last season, that's what we loved about him. We were like, man, this guy, it's that pausa, right? It's getting the defense out of shape and you hold it at your feet a little bit longer to get them to lean in one direction. And once they lean in the wrong, okay, now we're cycling, other side, here we go, front foot, let's move the ball forward. And we have that now. So between Trent and Dean, I mean, Arda now, even though he wasn't involved in that play. Ceballos looks like he's going to be at least a squad player here, so he has that ability. When we're getting pressed now, I'm not going to be as worried as I was in the past, where it's like, oh shit, we're going to lose the ball now. Now we're in trouble,
It's interesting how Madrid fans are understanding how unorthodox Alonso is compared to what they expected, right? Because they expected probably what I'm reading at the very least. They expected a Pep prototype of, but no, this team is going to get just enough, and those players are going to solve the rest. And that's why Alonso was such an exciting coach, and that's why they gave him that contract, and that's why they're giving him the players, because they know that this guy is the mixture between the football that we're used to play and the modern way of playing football. Which basically means we're going to be more organized as an institution as a whole because of this coach, and we're also going to still remain on our principles because he understands that some of the footballers are going to need a little bit more freedom, right?
Correct.
But Alonso has himself pointed out, I want my players to know when they get the ball and when to release the ball.
Absolutely.
That goes with Vini, right? On a second hole, there was that play when he was alone. Normally, Vini there would have tried to dribble, but no, he just stopped the ball and he waited and waited. And then Fede comes from the right side and he just goes in.
Perfect pass.
That's what you want. You know that Alonso there has talked with Vini already, being like, hey, look, this film from previous seasons, well, I don't want you to do this at all times. Maybe there might be cases when you want it, but please first look around, look what's coming. And when you're seeing a specimen like Fede just coming up, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna wait because this guy, he's gonna be in better spot.
And that was a perfect example, right? Because that's the third goal, right? So Vini, again, in the past, would have probably tried to take that defender on dribble, right? Maybe he get past him, maybe he loses the ball, whatever, but he holds it up, right? Gets the Fede gets the Brahim, and then again, once Brahim had it, Fede kept on his bicycle heading towards goal. And once he was in behind, well, you knew this is like, easy pickings.
All the goals are just very Alonso. If you watched Leverkusen for like 5 games, you would have seen all of our goals on this Club World Cup on repeat, basically. Because, that play between the lines, how much Jude, and even when the subs, because it became a more defensive approach game. But as Alonso said, I want to defend with the ball. So it's weird to tell somebody that, hey, he became more defensive, but he put Modric and Ceballos on, right? But he wanted to have more of the ball. He wanted to move the team a little bit more. Yes, he's aware that this team physically just cannot contain at this point in time, especially with the conditions that they're playing in, right? The heat, it was very hot. With all of that, that's why Jude was taken off. Vini was taken off last game, right? It's just his understanding of the circumstances, but he's still making sure. Even the goal that we conceded, right? It was a bit of a shame. I know that Pachuca, given the shots and chances that they had, might have deserved the goal. But it felt very unjust because the team wasn't giving you that 100% chance to score, right?
Correct.
And it comes off a deflection. Tchouaméni is very good at blocking shots, by the way. I'm just going to tell this to people. But he just got it a little bit wrong in that moment. The foot is not stepped right. So that deflection just gets it in instead of
a bit unlucky, but we were lucky that we already scored 3 goals ourselves, right? So that didn't hurt us. Some quick quotes from Xabi. We need to be flexible and able to adapt, but we also need core principles that we stick to. This was him after the match. And so you're seeing it. You mentioned what you thought that some fans, this Pep Guardiola thing. Remember, guys, yes, he did play under Pep Guardiola. He also played under Carlo Ancelotti. He also played under, if I'm not mistaken, Jose Mourinho, right? So he has various different coaching models in his brain and also his own idea of modern football and what we are supposed to be doing as a club and as an organization. That stuff is critical. This is also Xabi after the game talking about Fede. Fede Valverde is a Steven Gerrard profile. Every coach wants a Fede Valverde in his team. He's incredible. This is Fede. The difference between Ancelotti and Xabi asks us midfielders to have more control. He doesn't want us to drop deep to receive the ball. He wants us between the lines so that we can turn and drive forward. And I'm like, listen, we're starting to see a little bits of progress. Now, Don't be surprised, folks, if in the Salzburg game you see some dip, right? A revert back or whatever. Just because we were good doesn't mean now next game we're going to be, we could, but it's likely that we either level plateau or we drop down in form and start making bad mistakes. It's just the nature of when you are trying new things and when you are learning something new, it's going to be up and down, up and down. But you hope that the trend line is up, right? So there's up and down going, but the trend line is constantly trending upwards. That's what we want to see.
Yes. That's kind of the thing, right? That's expecting the team to change dynamics in like a week or two is just impossible. It's not gonna happen. Like it took Guardiola a whole season at Manchester City to try and change things bit by bit. People were calling him a failure in his first season because he finished third, right? And they were like, "Oh, look at how hard Premier League is." But wait a minute. No. It's just a process of players that I want, players that are good, players that are gonna fit certain molds. Yeah, we don't have a Pep here. I don't really correlate Alonso with a Pep because I think that Alonso is more like adaptable when it comes. Even Pep became adaptable, but I'm speaking about Pep in 2016 and not Pep now because Pep has adapted a lot since. But that Pep used to be more like, I want to have, if I could, I would have 100% of the ball at all times, and the other team wouldn't have it for one moment. Until he kind of saw that that's impossible. And I'm giving up way too much trying to achieve it. And Alonso, as a coach, at least on the highest level, he's shown that he's already aware of mistakes that the others have done. He's aware of the fact that not everything is going to be perfect at all times. We're going to make mistakes. Those players are going to make mistakes. And it seems that we have to address this. People seem to think that Alonso is some sort of like a radical coach, because I saw a tweet today by going like, "Oh, Vini's never gonna get to dribble. That's never gonna fly with him." You know,
that's not true.
I'm like, this is the guy that has probably used the most players over the last 105 years. What do you mean he's not adaptable? What do you mean the players aren't going to get? He's playing to their strengths. Like, let's be real. For example, like some people are going to come here and comment like Grimaldo, for example, right? Like, I know that Grimaldo at one point was a name. He came from La Masia. You know what comes with that PR, right?
Of course.
But that name faded away relatively quick. And it wasn't until Alonso came where Grimaldo was back on a picture. Okay, he has, I think, a 16 million release clause or an 8 million one, which is very low, which goes to show what he was signed for, what was expected out of him. He made him overperform a lot. So Alonso is that. With Alonso, you're going to get, maybe Gonzalo Garcia is just not this good in general, right? On game-to-game basis. But Alonso has found a formula where he knows this guy's strengths. He knows that he can flick it. He knows that he keeps it simple. So he asks him to do, hey, more of this because it's coming to the benefit of the team. That's your coach right now. So if Vini needs to dribble a little bit more, he's going to let him dribble a little bit more to have him on a flow of the game. If Mbappe needs maybe a certain run to make to be efficient, you're probably going to see that. I know that we haven't seen Mbappe yet, but you're probably going to see that because this is the coach. He's structuring it. Jude played deeper last game. You saw Jude on this game. It was more of repetition of the second half of the last game, right? He's a bit higher. He's more supportive of the number 9, and he's also great between the lines, which I always criticize Ancelotti for never using him. And now you're saying like a player that, oh, look, I can bully defenders and I can play with my back and I can dribble.
Jude's a physical freak. He can, he's, I was watching the Dortmund game. He and his brother look so much alike. It's so crazy.
Oh, it's a bit scary.
They're just big.
They're not even twins.
Right? I know, right? I'm like, they're just big physical freaks. It's like, well, of course he can play between the lines. Good luck trying to knock that dude off the ball. He's so big. Look, the big thing, as I said over and over, and I'm going to keep repeating it, Xabi is a pragmatist. Yes, he has his principles and his ideas, but if something is not working, he's not going to keep trying to force a square peg into a round hole. It's going to be like, okay, scrap that. We're doing something else. And in modern football, with the talent so high and there's so many good players all over the world, You cannot be so regimented and stuck in your ways, because you'll have success, but it'll be a short amount of time and then it will end. And I think Xabi is really the epitome of someone who's super pragmatic. We talked about the midfield, and there's all these questions about control. And I want to go back to the pre-match press conference where he says, look, we're not thinking about the transfer market right now. We're trying to win this competition. But I'm convinced that with all the great profiles we have, we can create a dominant midfield. I'm sure of it. And that's what I have been saying forever. You cannot tell me a Jude Bellingham, Eduardo Camavinga, we haven't even talked about yet because he's not healthy right now, but he's
not even back. Yes.
Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Valverde, and Arda Guler. You cannot tell me between those 5 guys alone that we can't be a dominant midfield. You can't.
Exactly, right? Like, that I've always been opposed to this, we need to sign a Toni Kroos replacement at all costs, because, well, there's only one Toni Kroos, to be more exact. And look, the closest guy that we have seen to that was Enzo Fernandez, who's now playing like a number 10, a box crasher more than a controller. Because, well, things change, like physical profile change, the way how they tactically get implemented. Those things change players, right? And I'm like, you don't really, unless you're a Toni Kroos, you're not really going to be able to control a game under Ancelotti, to control that chaos that Ancelotti setup brings, right? But when you're removing that chaos now, you're going to have it because momentum shifts and all of that. But when you're removing a big portion of that chaos, you're going to get a good product with those players. Those players have the technical ceiling to be able to pass the ball and find their teammates. They just need to know when, where, how. And the receiver needs to know the exact same thing. Once those two things get combined into one, then we're talking about a different product, a different beast. Gonna take a while, probably not even gonna be there for the first game in La Liga. Maybe it's by December, but at one point you're going to see a team that is just closing their eyes and they already know where the ball is. That's what it's aimed for with this team, and I think it's gonna get there.
I'm a firm believer in that. I'm with you, Loconte. It just, you can't watch what's happening and not see that. The ideas are already starting to take form, and we've only, again, they've had a total of and first of all, the whole team isn't even fully healthy yet, and everybody's not even here. But Xabi's had 10 training sessions, right? And with every 4 or 5, so trust me, we got to give this guy some space and some time, but you already are starting to see a little bit of the improvement. Last thing I want to leave with is it was late in the game, but you saw Xabi he's also using this Club World Cup, even though he keeps saying we're trying to win it. He's very smart. He's saying the right things publicly. He's also trying shit too to see, okay, is we going to work with this? Late in the game, you saw it. He went with the back 3, right? Because he had Huijsen, Rudiger, and Tchouaméni. And I was like, okay, this is right. Because Trent, as I said, Trent was already tucked in for most of the game like a wing back anyway, right? And then you had Valverde on the other side. I was like, okay, we're seeing it. Listen, everybody don't freak out. And again, you and I have talked about Loconte. It's not who cares? It's not about, is he lining up? We're going to be in such shape-shifting positions. Sometimes it'll look like we're 3 in possession. Out of possession, it's going to be all varied on what's happening and who's on the field. But I think he did
make it. Is actually 3 at back because Fran is inverting a lot.
Correct. When we're in possession and building up
on very deep areas, because he wants the winger to be wide. So that's why you're seeing the fullbacks. Trent is he knows that Trent is more suitable to move up in midfield.
Correct.
And he's like, okay, if I get these guys, I just need to get the ball there, basically, and comfortably. Not just get the ball, hey, we're pushing.
Right. Exactly.
Need to get the ball comfortably there, and from there on, I can dominate.
Yeah.
He wants to dominate the area that is the most important. Touched on it post the first game. It's the central zones. If you're not giving up the central zones, you're good. You can't be perfect in football. Perfectionism doesn't exist. And I always say, if I have to make peace with giving up something, I'm giving up the wings.
Right.
Because the center can always bail me out.
Yep.
But if I'm losing the center
and
we're conceding the goals like last season, right? You saw how many times we were too slow to get back. Like
so easy.
Think of Pedri's goal as example, right, on this Copa del Rey final.
Mm-hmm.
That's when your central hub is just not working. But think of these two games. You're not being penetrated centrally at all. Every attack is coming off the side. Are there problems that probably need to be fixed? Yes, of course. But for as long as, again, I'm having to give up one thing, I'm always giving up the wide areas because that's when less danger can come.
Of
For
course.
as long as my defenders know how to clear it, my midfielders are being positioned correctly, I can always get it out. And we have such physical specimen freaks, quite literally. Like you're heading into a game with Tchouaméni, Jude Bellingham, and Federico Valverde. That three alone is just freaks of nature, right? And then you mentioned Camavinga, who's a freak on itself. Like some of Camavinga's tackles.
Oh my God,
just
he's
like
elite.
How is that even humanly possible? He does that. And now imagine that in a team like this that is centrally congested, and Camavinga can actually go inside with those tackles and win the ball back. That's why you want him. That's why I always said I don't want Camavinga as a 6. I don't want him as a pivot. I want him a bit higher. I want him floating a little bit on this role that we're seeing Valverde, right? Where he's floating a little bit more. He's up to the left. He's up to the right. He's moving where the space is because he wants to get the ball. That's where I want Camavinga too.
Of course. Yeah. Listen, Camavinga, I've said it a million times. He is so good. And guys, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Bellingham, these guys are, the oldest person is Tchouaméni at 24, and the older person in the whole is Valverde at 26, right? I mean, so we have, and to the development wise, particularly of Camavinga and Tchouaméni, they're nowhere near their ceiling development wise.
You know, when you think about it, right? Outside of Rudiger and Thibaut, Valverde is the oldest player.
Correct. Yeah.
When you think about it, right?
And that's awesome. That is awesome.
You know, you're like, like the energy levels and the ceiling where these players can go to just changes a lot, because in back of your head it's always like, okay, this is better than the last one, and this one is better than the last one, and the more games they play, the more
better they're
together
going to be.
They are. The chemistry is building up, and that chemistry building up is just getting better and better. The results are coming in. Let's be real, Madrid are a result-driven club, right? You are gonna need the results. Here, it's not just about the process.
Right. You got to win.
But to me, the game against Al Hilal was a result. The penalty missed was what really took you away the 3 points. But I said when we started that, I liked what I saw. And today, the execution was just better. Probably the next game execution might be even better than today. Even though on that game, I would like to see some different players play on normal circumstances. It's all going to depend on the result tonight of the game between Al Hilal and Red Bull Salzburg. But I would like to see some other players. I want to see this team a little bit without Vini. Maybe have Rodrigo on that left wing. And I want
see what it looks like.
How the right wing is going to actually look like. But maybe Mbappe plays on that game, so my theory is just completely out because we just added the player behind again. You know, it's just this team has so many weapons. Keep in mind, this is a team without Mbappe, right? This is a team without the golden boot winner. Whatever people think about Mbappe in general, did he perform well or not last season? Did he have some cranky games? That's a golden boot winner.
Correct.
That's the player with the most goals in European top 5 leagues. I mean, technically not, but Gyökeres plays in a league with lesser coefficient.
Correct.
But for the most part, Mbappe is the golden boot winner. And that guy hasn't even stepped a foot with this team. And keep in mind, Mbappe for France scored and assisted both games.
Yeah, right? Sure did.
So when you have that, as I say, that's a +1.
No, listen, we have an abundance of talent. Xavi is clearly someone who's going to rotate and change and put different lineups in, which is going to save the legs of and the lungs of Freddie Valverde and Jude Bellingham and all these guys in our midfield. This is, guys, bright days are ahead for this club. So I want everybody to continue to be patient and watch what you're seeing process-wise, but enjoy it. I want to thank everybody. We had 145 people on the live today. Awesome. That might be our new record. We're getting a new record every time we go live. everyone, make sure you like this video, smash the like button on this video, subscribe to this podcast, share it with your friends, please. If you want the audio only version, we are on Apple and Spotify and wherever else you get your podcasts. I know that Loconte, you'll be back this week with a solo episode, either tomorrow or Tuesday. And then later in the week, Sid and I will be back for the Salzburg post game. Or is it you and I? Maybe no, it's too late for you. That's a way late game for you. So Sid and I will be back.
A lot is coming, guys, and don't forget that might be more than Rodrigo's minutes.
See, Loconte had to get a last dig in at Rodrigo.
I needed to do that because the comment on the last episode was that, I'm retarded, I'm not supporting him. Well, I don't know if I'm retarded or maybe the coach didn't give him a single minute on this game. And
listen,
I'm not saying that he's out of the team and all of that
no, we're not
because of that today, but there's a reason why he did that. He's trying to figure out different things.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. Guys, as Jarod said, everything is for free. You're not paying for anything. We're here to hopefully entertain you. Look, I'm playing the petty game. I don't actually mind that at all. I understand that Rodrigo is a Madrid player, so if by September 1st he's a Madrid player,
we support him.
All in for that because they have made that decision for a reason. While I might not believe that that's going to be the case, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to sit here for a whole season and just shit on him at all times whenever he's bad. But what I mean is the fact that my belief is that he's gone. My belief.
Yeah.
So that's it, really.
And we'll see what happens.
Out of context and want to attack me, completely fine. I don't really care. I barely mentioned the guy this whole episode because he didn't play.
He didn't play. And yeah, guys, look, we are here because we support Real Madrid, the greatest football club in the world, right? That's ultimately what we care. We want the team and the players here to do well. We want success and we want everybody to enjoy themselves. That's ultimately the name of the game. But again, thank you all for joining us. Like this video, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Take care, guys. Bye.